Welcome to Fun and Fundraising, everybody, the podcast where we talk with people behind the top signature fundraisers and nonprofit galas to how they positively transform their communities. I am your host, Rob Giardinelli, and today I am absolutely thrilled to have Kirsten Herrscher, who is the president-elect of Beau's Place. Beau's Place is going to be doing an event that's actually thematic, and this is one of the first thematic podcasts we've done, and it's an event around the Kentucky Derby called Hearts, Hats, and Horseshoes, and I'm really excited to talk with Kirsten today about that. Kirsten, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, Rob, thank you for having us on. I really appreciate it.
Well, we're glad to have you here. And, let's start a little bit about talking about the organization and talking about Beau's Place. So share a little bit with us about what the mission of Beau's Place is.
Well, the stated mission, is to enhance the lives of those who have experienced the loss of a loved one. That's the stated mission. The deeper mission is we truly help heal hearts. We have numerous service sessions where people come and get free grief support. We have educational programs that help teach teachers, the other clinical professionals about grief support. It's just truly an amazing organization. And there's so much sadness and loss out there in the world and in our community that we are thrilled to be able to offer these services for free to everyone.
That's really wonderful. And grief, and really I think the last 3 years is kind of, for a lot of people, I don't want to say it's been a crash course, but it really has kind of accelerated the needs. And I got to imagine an organization like yours really saw services exponentially increase throughout 2020 and beyond with that.
It was a tough time for us because everything was shut down, and we do all of our sessions in-house. We did not have any online sessions. So we had to, I have to give credit to the staff of Beau's, to Mary Beth, our director. We really did a quick turnaround and managed to figure out Zoom, and our participants figured it out. And at first, as a facilitator, I thought this is never going to work. How are we going to take these in-person groups and make them online and work? They did work. It was amazing. But like you said, there was so much grief out there at the time. People were dying from COVID. After that, we saw a lot more suicides. It's heartbreaking and heart-wrenching to see how much sadness there is out there. So now we are moving back to get everybody back in-house and starting the sessions back up in person again. And that's really what we like, to bring the families together and have them be together and talk about their grief.
That really, it's important that people really do that and process that. And it's one of those things. And, I've lost loved ones suddenly many times over the years. And, the one thing about grief is that everyone kind of does it on their own timeline. And, some people can just pick up the pieces and they're ready to go 3 months after a loved one passes away, and other people, it takes them longer to process that. How does an organization like Beau's Place handle kind of the different durations and kind of helping people through the process when people really do grieve at different places?
Well, one of our main themes and one of the main points we tell people when they come to a session is grief is your journey. There is no timeline. Everybody's timeline is different. Some people might take years to heal. Like you said, some people might take a few months. Are they really healed in 3 months? Will it come back later? You don't know. So that is one of the key things. People will come in and say, but I shouldn't still be sad. It's been a year. My friends tell me to get over it. It's not how it works. It is a journey. Everybody's is their own journey.
It is. And the one thing that I'd like to ask you about the organization, do you see that more people come for your services when they've lost someone suddenly? Or do you see a good amount of people that maybe had a loved one that had maybe a several year battle with something like cancer and they're coming in? Or do you really kind of see kind of all those different types of folks kind of coming in to utilize those services?
It's all of the above. It really is. There are I've had participants, I facilitate groups, I think I said, and
Hmm.
I've had participants in there who lost a father who is 87.
Hmm.
And sometimes you're like, but didn't you? There, people die, and when they
Yeah,
get
that's a
older,
cycle of life.
but
Yeah.
but as the sessions progress, the stories come out that they've been struggling with guilt because they didn't have a close relationship with their father. And while, yes, age takes its toll and you expect an older person to die, your grief process is affected by your relationship with that person. And so they have to work through that anger and that guilt and not the suddenness of it. We also have cancer patients who, lately, since COVID, a lot of it has been anger and frustration at the mother or father not going to the doctor because they were scared to get out of the house, and they had liver cancer and they didn't get it treated. So they're mad and they're angry because of COVID. When COVID really didn't kill them, the liver cancer took their life.
Right.
Um, Sudden deaths, it's horrific how many murders and deaths we have in a huge city like Houston and other big cities, of course, and small cities. But that is tragic, and they don't understand why. And it varies. It really does. So there's a lot of suicide too, which is really sad, especially
Yeah.
today.
And I have to imagine the last couple of years, that's probably increased quite a bit just with the,
Mhm.
inherent isolation, which, a lot of that derives from. And,
Correct.
I can really sense the passion coming from you as you talk about this. What makes you so passionate about Bo's Place and this particular organization?
Well, many of the people involved with Bo's Place have their own story and the reason and a death that makes them understand the benefits of a place like Bo's. For myself, we lost we had two children that did not survive. One was in utero about 6 months of my pregnancy,
Oh gosh.
and the other was a almost 2-year-old little girl named Samantha who died of Tay-Sachs disease, which is a rare genetic disorder. It's a storage disease. Not many people even know what it is. We had no idea. And it's a terminal disease. And
Right.
um, so she passed away just not far before her second birthday. And at that time, back in the early 90s, there was no, I knew of no place like this. Bose started in 1990, but I was not aware of it. I wish I
Hmm.
had been. Um, I grieved a long grief. I had no one to talk to. I mean, I had family and friends, but as a young adult,
Right.
um, I you never want to bring it up. You
Yeah.
you don't want to make that other person feel bad because you're talking about your child who has died.
Right.
And so you just internalize it all. And I did okay, but I'm gonna tell you, 3 or so years after the fact, I went into a depression. I had to come out of it, and my husband said, you held it all in because you stayed strong for me. And if you had lost it at the time, I would have lost it. And our older son, who was alive, he was a little bit older, would have not understood. You held it all together, and yet it came back. And I think if I had had that support group to talk to know that my feelings were normal, it was okay to talk about her, it would have helped me tremendously.
Yeah,
Um,
and I just admire you. I mean, that's an awful lot to go through. And I just admire your strength and your perseverance to do it. And I even admire more that you pay it forward in helping others, because that really is, to me, the ultimate showcase of empathy. And, it is always easier to talk about difficult subjects with people when the person on the other side of the table has experienced that to some degree. Obviously, every single death happens in a slightly different way, but at least there's an understanding of that process, and that's really, I really admire you for doing that.
well, I that's my personal reason why I'm so involved. I also have seen the magic of most of Bo's Place, and there truly is what we all internally call the magic of Bo's Place. You see these people come in, and they are sad, lost souls. They are angry. They are frustrated. They feel guilty, like I said before. And after 9 weeks with people in similar situations, they walk away knowing that they are not alone in a harsh world, knowing that
Wonderful.
they're gonna be okay. And that is truly what keeps bringing me back to sit through 9 more weeks of another group and listen to sad stories. So that is my reason for being here.
That's wonderful. So when you say groups, are most of the services Bose offers, are they mostly in group settings, or are there also one-on-one consults available?
It is group sessions. We do families, we do young adults, we have pregnancy loss groups, a variety of other groups. We try to get, I'd say, anywhere from about 8 to 12 people in a group. We try very hard to put them together. When the family groups come, we do something really neat. So the family groups, they have children in school. So there's a mother, let's say, and a father has passed away, and she has
Okay.
3 children, and they're all struggling. First of all, she has 3 kids. She's
Yeah.
alone. She's probably working. And so we have a potluck dinner so that they can come straight from after school at 5 o'clock. Even if they're fighting traffic, they don't have to worry about feeding the kids. And we have a
Wow.
potluck, and they come, they sit, they talk, and then we break them out into the mothers and the adults, and then we break them out who have similar deaths. So let's say, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them had cancer deaths, or we just try
Mhm.
really hard to group them in like deaths. Then we put the children in age appropriate groups. So the children are in groups by themselves with kids, not with their moms and dads.
Oh,
And
interesting.
mhm. And so they talk, and they have the facilitators have exercises and ask questions. The facilitator's job in an adult group is to really just be quiet as much as possible. We facilitate and we ask questions, but it's to let them start talking among themselves. The kids, you kind of have to, they're 5-year-olds, so maybe you'll read them a
Hmm.
little story.
Right.
Maybe you'll put a band-aid on the heart and say, that hurts, and you'll do very age appropriate exercises all the way up to what we call clay smashers, where the older kids can just take a piece of clay and chunk it against a board,
Oh,
and
good.
that's to get their anger out. So,
Yes.
so these are just small examples of many of the exercises and different things that we do with the kids. And I did a middle school group recently, and it was so sad. Their fathers had
Yeah.
all died suddenly, and it was just heartbreaking for me to be. And I'd usually done adults, but by the end, they were trading phone numbers. They were
Oh,
texting each other. We're going to get together. I can't believe you like that band. I love that band. And at the beginning, it was just, they wouldn't talk. So that was,
wow.
again, you got to see these kids kind of come out of their shells and realize there were other kids like them.
Well, and I love the group setting, especially for children, because with something like that, the feeling of I'm the only one probably feels magnified, especially if they're the only one in their class or their school, that it really allows them to really kind of create this sharedness, and that there is someone that they can go through with that. So it just warms my heart to hear that,
Mhm.
these kids will trade phone numbers and they'll text one another and they'll maintain relationships outside of the group, because that support network, it's an ongoing thing that, I lost a partner 14 years ago, and there's still people that I have to lean on from that time to really get through tough moments. It doesn't happen every day, but it does happen from time to time. And it's just great that you create that network, especially for children who wouldn't necessarily know how to go about doing that.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's not, I got to tell you this story.
Okay.
So, one of my first groups about 4 years ago, I facilitated spouse loss.
Okay.
And there were a group of ladies in there who were very, very sad. And they came to our session. And that time we had 2 sessions. So they came, or we had multiple sessions they could come to. And they formed a bond, which was like none other had ever seen. We had a luncheon back in February, and 4 of them are now facilitators back at Bose.
Oh,
And
that's
it
wonderful.
they came, and we talked, and we've texted since, and are going to try to go have coffee and things like that. And it is just so amazing to see how full circle those women have come, that now they are also giving back and helping people who were in their situation not too many years ago.
Wow. I mean, that is amazing how getting involved and just through the organization that they want to pay it forward. One question I just realized that I didn't ask you was how you got involved with Bo's Place initially, because you had mentioned, you weren't aware of it, in the early 90s, right after it was starting, you had lost your daughter. That, how did you get involved with the organization?
A family financial advisor, David Shine, was the president at the time, and he knew through my family that I'd lost a daughter way back, and that I had recently retired from the working world and was looking for a place to provide my time and do
Right.
something productive with my life. And he asked me if I wanted to come do a tour. They were doing a little session with a few tours of the building and so forth. And I talked to Mary Beth, and I decided to start facilitating at that time and went through the training and facilitated. And that it was, as soon as I walked in, I just looked at Mary Beth and I said, I want to do this. This is
Wow.
just phenomenal. So that's how I
That's
got started. So.
that's amazing that you just felt it. It's almost like it's your house in a way that, like when you open the door, when you're searching for a house and you open the door and you walk in, you're like, this is the one, and you can't explain it. And I love
Right.
that was kind of the way that you found the organization, was that way. You walked in, you just felt the energy the second you walked into the space, that this is where you were meant to be.
Yeah, it was it's been great for me.
I love that. And, let's talk a little bit now about, the fundraising aspect of, obviously these services cost money, and, to keep the lights on and to keep helping people in the community, especially now, where there have been definitely more deaths in the last few years with COVID and, other mental health things. So what you all do, and what I love, is that you do an event around a specific cultural event. So you do it around a theme, you do it around the Kentucky Derby. And your event is called Hearts, Hats, and Horseshoes. And our Houston editor, Jem Roos, has raved about your organization for years. So tell us a little bit more about the Hearts, Hats, and Horseshoes event, which is, one of your signature fundraising events.
It is, and it's really the most fun event. So, when I think about Hearts, Hats, and Horseshoes, I have this inside vision of, I'm Pretty Woman when Julia Roberts is out there and she's fixing all the divots and she's in her cute dress and her hat, and everybody there is drinking champagne or mint juleps and having a blast on the polo fields. Well, it's not polo, it's the Kentucky Derby, but it is just a beautiful, fun event. Everybody's wearing fascinators, and the men are sometimes in short seersucker shorts and there's blazers and bow ties, and it's nice, but it's fun. And the best part about it is the camaraderie that people bring to it. You bring a bunch of friends and maybe fill a table, or you run into other people there and you had no idea that they had experienced a loss, or maybe you run into somebody who didn't even know what Bose was about, but their best friend just lost their husband 3 weeks ago, and they're going to refer them. It's just truly amazing, the connections that we make from that event. I don't know why, but it's just a phenomenal event. It's a lot of fun. We have the Kentucky Derby is how many minutes? I don't even know. 5
It's like
minutes.
4 minutes.
It's
Like, it's
nothing.
super fast.
Yes. So everybody's having fun, and then you watch the Kentucky Derby and you cheer for your horse if you guess that horse or bet on that horse. But it's really the camaraderie. The setting is a fun place. The food is great. The games are fun, but it's the setting and the people.
Oh, so games.
Happen.
So all right, so games. So there's like different games that kind of people can play while they're there?
Yes, there are lots of things to do. So if you come in, you first, there's always photo ops, right? Because everybody has their fascinators. And if you don't know what a fascinator is kind of a headband for the ladies that could have feathers or flowers, or they can be huge or they could be small, and people wear hats. And of course, that's such an easy conversation starter, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, where'd you get your fascinator? Oh, your fascinator looks great. Or, oh, your suit looks great. Or, I love your bow tie. I mean, those are just such easy conversation starters. But there's a bourbon pull, bourbon, of course. This year, if you do a bourbon pull, you also get your name in a raffle for a bottle of Blanton bourbon, which is a very good bourbon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's a double thing on the bourbon bowl. They'll do a heads or tails game, which IW Marks provides or donates a gift for.
Oh, wonderful.
There's a betting wall where you can purchase slots and you can go and bet on whichever horse you think is going to win. And then they draw from that bucket for another prize. So there's just lots. There's mint juleps. There's a champagne cart. There's a photo op with a jockey. There's even a polo demonstration, right? Because you're right
Oh,
by.
nice.
You're
Okay.
right by the field, so everybody can watch the polo demonstration. Of course, there's good food, and there's. I think we're going to have some cool towels in case it's a little warm. It is in May.
Yeah.
I think some boozy popsicles too. So it's just a lot of fun. It's just festive and fun.
That
It's not.
That sounds amazing. The boozy popsicles is something, when I go to this, I think that's going to be my first beeline is because I don't think I've ever had a popsicle. I've heard of people talk about it, but I've never had one. So that sounds like a perfect thing on a warm Texas May afternoon.
That's right. It's just a lot of fun. It's not pretentious. It's really just festive and fun, and it's just a great event. Great event.
It is. And what's fun, what I love about your organization doing that is, and part of the grieving process is knowing that it's okay to be happy again. And this is the type of event where you get to dress up. And by up, I don't mean in black tie, you get to dress fun. And there's a little bit of a difference, both are fun in their own ways, but when you kind of have a theme like that, you kind of get to be really creative. And I'm sure there's wild hats. And like you said, the men get into it too, whether it's seersucker shorts or whatever other things that they're going to wear. It creates this, like you said, when you the second you walk into the space, you immediately feel like you're in a community. And that's kind of what's fun about events like that, where you're all there because you like the Kentucky Derby, just like, football fans can walk into any Super Bowl party. And so, if they're all cheering for the same team, there's an immediate camaraderie that comes in there that's really just amazing, amazing to see.
Right.
With the people doing that. And so that's a whole lot of fun, different things. And what I like about it is that there's literally something for everybody and every type of person. Like you said, you're not really a bourbon drinker, but yet there's a bourbon prize for that for those who do. And I'm not a bourbon drinker either, but like the one thing with bourbon I'll drink, ironically, is mint juleps. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's the sweetness. I don't know if it's the mint. I don't know if it's just because it's Derby Day, but there's just something about that drink that's just really fun.
It is fun. And after a couple of mint juleps, we always want people to check out our auction.
Oh, okay. So tell us about the auction, because that's obviously a big fundraising thing to drive funds for the organization. So tell us more about this year's auction.
Right. Well, we have items from Tootsie's and a variety of experiences. It will be online, so you have your phone to do it online bidding, which is, I guess, become the norm nowadays for most events. I'm not really sure. But
I would say that that's the one positive thing for events coming out of COVID and that's kind of the one thing that stuck was some people did it, but now it's like everyone does that because they saw that it actually worked during COVID. And that's kind of an event thing that even if you're not there, you can be there.
Absolutely. Shelley Ludwig over at Tootsie's has always been so great with us, and actually was a past participant, I believe, at Beau's Place. And so they've donated a couple items, I believe. We also will probably have a mission moment where our executive director or current president might get up and talk about the mission. We always, of course, talk about our mission at these events for those that don't know it. And there's a Champion of Hope Award that will go to Dorothy and Ronnie Cunard this year. And so there are some talking points for the event to get to the serious side of Beau's Place. But it is just a really, really fun event. So IW Marks, I think I mentioned. I'm not sure.
IW Marks is a jeweler, and Tootsie's is a premier clothier in Houston. So they've always got some great fashions and great looks, and they're really legendary. And they've even got one in Dallas too. So they're in multiple cities. in
there.
doing that. So, you know, you mentioned, you know, the folks that are speaking. One of the folks that you mentioned that would be speaking is the current president. I know you're the president-elect and you're incoming. So tell me a little bit about how important you think having an engaged board is in the contributing to the success of an event, such as, you know, Hearts, Hats, and Horseshoes.
Oh my goodness. I believe the event actually was suggested by a board member. I think we started it in 2017.
Okay.
And we originally had it at the Fertitta home,
Okay.
which you can imagine the backyard is just
Amazing.
unbelievable. And it
Yeah.
was an amazing draw for people to come to. It was a beautiful place to have it. We then moved it to the Polo Grounds, and it has just been a great event. The board is very involved. As a board member, you normally sit on one or two committees. So our advancement committee, whoever is on the committee, has a big role in helping with the event. A lot of us will, almost all of us, I think, will sit on the host committee, and a lot of us will purchase tables or will donate gifts or will, you know, be at an event. We just help out in all sorts of ways. We are a strategic board. We help the executive director in many ways, but attending the event is always the fun part of our board job.
Absolutely. What I like about that is you talked about, you know, because there's really two types of things that all successful boards have. It's the financial capital, obviously, but it's also the human capital. So what I really like is that the board members serve on multiple committees, because that requires more importantly than their money, it requires their time, so that they understand the organization. And a lot of it's just about leveraging relationships, just to, you know, like you said, to get an auction item donated or to have a specific service, you know, with someone that they may have known from their past that maybe that isn't necessarily financial, but it's really allowing you to expand your reach within, you know, within your community, which in your case is Houston. So I think that's really, really a really good and smart way to keep the board members engaged, because you're approaching them from both sides.
Absolutely. If it were not for the board, our networking would be a lot more difficult. It is, they're huge in our networking and all items that you mentioned.
Absolutely. So you know, I'm really glad that you all do that. So talk a little bit about, you know, the funds that will come from this year's event, because and actually, before we go into that, I do want to touch upon one thing, and that is you all actually were able to move from a smaller venue to a bigger venue. And I've known quite a few organizations that have not been able to successfully do that. How do you think you were able to successfully move it from a home to, you know, the Polo Club probably being a larger space that can accommodate more folks? What do you think was the reason that you were able to kind of do that in a way that it allowed the, you know, the organization to continue to flourish and the event to continue to flourish?
Well, I wasn't on the board when those moves were decided, I don't believe. And I think you have to change things up.
Okay.
I think that you cannot do the same old thing year after year after year, or it gets old. The Fertitta's home was beautiful. We were actually in the process of going to another, somebody else's home during 2020.
Okay.
And that was all set. And then COVID hit and we
Right.
could not do it. And then I think the timing didn't work to go back to those supporters' home. And so we ended up going to the Polo Club. So that is kind of the transition there of how we got to the Polo Club.
So
which is a great venue.
It is. It's a wonderful venue. And it also just kind of shows that how organizations, the one thing about COVID with fundraising is everyone's kind of had to be more inventive now. And people are willing, I think, now to take more risks than they were 5 years ago. So it forced the organization a little bit out of its comfort zone, but it's also created a bigger and better event as a result of that, and doing that and taking that risk. And like you said, you know, making sure that things are different and unique and evolving the event.
Right.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I don't know how long we'll stay at the Polo Club. I don't have that, but it is a unique venue for this specific event, because you do have the horses that are walking around. You see the jockeys that are there working with their horses. You get the polo demonstration. You can't really get that anywhere else. So
no,
it's been the last couple of years, it has been really great to be there. So we're looking forward to this year as well.
Oh, that's amazing. Now I'll go to that question I was going to do, but I just wanted to interject with that is tell us what the funds raised from this year's Hearts, Hats, and Horseshoes benefits.
So all of our services are free. We have our fundraisers. We depend on grants from foundations. We depend on contributions and donations from individuals, and our two main fundraisers, with Hats, Hearts, and Horseshoes being this one. Without those, we would not be able to do what we do. We offer so many sessions to different groups of people. As I mentioned before, we have such a wide variety of participants we are trying to reach and help. We go out into the community and work in schools. We do the family groups. We do the young adult groups. We have Little Friends, which is for 3 to 5 year olds. We do all kinds, and we could not even support. We have a building to support. We have a staff to support. If the groups are actually run by all volunteers. So if it weren't for that, we wouldn't be able to continue to do it either. So this is a huge event where we count on these funds to help us do our day-to-day activities and to pay the bills and to keep us doing what we do.
Well, I think that's wonderful that you all are doing it. And it's such an important community need. And I love that you have alumni such as yourself that, stay involved, in the organization or the folks that you were talking about earlier, where they basically went from, I don't want to call them clients, but went from, participants in a group to volunteers. And I just love that really what I almost see it as is that, when you lose somebody, you can either keep your heart the same size or you can let your heart grow and let more love in. And I just love that everyone's hearts at Bose, they get larger and it lets more love in and it allows that love to kind of go out into the community. So I just think it's amazing what you all are doing. And I can't thank you enough, Kirsten, for taking the time today with us.
Oh, what a beautiful way to say it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Hearts, Hats, and Horseshoes, a Kentucky Derby affair for Bose Place, is Saturday, May 6, 2023 at the Houston Polo Club in Houston, Texas. For more information, visit boseplace.org. And Kirsten, again, thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you, Rob.
And this is Rob Giardinelli signing off on Fun and Fundraising, reminding you to keep it fun, keep it interesting, and your guests will have a great time. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.